Younger me, I had everything I was supposed to want. The career, the respect, the security, but none of it was real. Every morning I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger staring back at me. And that was the moment I realized if I didn't change something, I was going to disappear. Younger me, I know you feel it too, the pressure, the quiet dissatisfaction, the sense that no matter how much you achieve, something is still missing. You've done everything you were supposed to, followed the path laid out before you, built a life that looks successful on the surface, and yet, deep down, something feels off. You're not just lost, you're disappearing. I know because I've been there. I spent years chasing a version of success that wasn't mine. I convinced myself that if I just worked harder, pushed further, became more of what the world expected, I'd finally feel at peace. But instead the cracks widened, the mask slipped, and I realized I wasn't living. I was performing. That was the moment everything changed. Not because I suddenly had the answers, but because I finally asked the right question. What if losing who I was the best thing that could ever happen to me? Younger me, I know how much you're holding on to the identity you built, to the expectations that shaped you, to the idea that you need to become someone greater, rather than shed what no longer serves you. But this isn't the loss you think it is. It's the breaking open of something deeper, something real. And you're not the first to walk this road. For a long time, I searched for answers. I wanted to know why I felt this way, why the life I had built felt so hollow. I had no idea what was happening to me. Was I broken? Was I failing? Why did the life I had worked so hard to build feel so empty? That's when I realized I wasn't the first man to feel this way, and I wouldn't be the last. The answers weren't in success or money or becoming more of what the world wanted. The answers were hidden in the minds of those who had walked this path before me. Carl Jung spent his life uncovering why men like us lose ourselves and how to find our way back. Nietzsche stared into the abyss of human struggle and returned with strength. Camus refused to lie to himself about the absurdity of life and, in doing so, discovered something profound. And Viktor Frankl endured suffering beyond imagination and proved that meaning is not given, it is created. Their lessons are not distant theories, they are the lifelines I clung to when I felt most lost. And now, younger me, they're yours too. So listen carefully. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering the man you were always meant to be. Let's begin. Younger me, you don't realize it yet, but you're living someone else's life. Every choice you make, every step forward, every achievement, it's not truly yours. It's a script handed to you by the world, by expectations, by the silent pressure to be who you think you're supposed to be. And I know why you cling to it. You've convinced yourself that if you follow the path, one day you'll wake up and feel whole, but you won't. You'll wake up and feel like a stranger in your own life, because no matter how much you achieve, no matter how much approval you gather, something will always feel off. You'll wake up in the morning and feel the weight of something missing, something you can't quite name. It hit me all at once. I wasn't lost. I was living someone else's life. I had followed all the rules. I had done what I was supposed to, and yet I felt more disconnected than ever. Was I the only one? That's when I found Jung. Carl Jung spent his life studying men like us. Men who built lives that looked perfect on paper but secretly felt like ghosts in their own bodies. He called this crisis individuation. The moment you realize the life you built isn't really yours, not who the world told you to be, not the version of yourself shaped by fear, by approval, by the quiet desperation to fit in, but you, the real you, the one that exists beneath the layers, beneath the persona, beneath all the things you've been told you should be. And right now, younger me, you are far from him. I know because I was you. For years I thought success meant playing my part well. I became exactly who people expected me to be, the hard worker, the responsible one, the version of myself that looked good on the surface. I convinced myself that if I could just get it right, if I could just become enough, the nagging emptiness would disappear. It didn't, and I remember the exact moment I realized it. The room was buzzing. Conversations, laughter, clinking glasses. I was saying all the right things, making all the right moves, but inside, silence, like I wasn't even there. As I looked around, I felt something I wasn't prepared for. Not happiness, not fulfillment, but disconnection. like I was watching someone else's life from the outside, like I was a stranger in my own world. That was the moment I understood. The man I had built was not me, and that terrified me. Because if I wasn't him, then who was I? Younger me? This is the part they don't tell you. The part you don't read in books about success and self-improvement. They tell you to build yourself up, to add more to your life, to become more. But real growth, it's not about adding. It's about stripping away. It's about removing the layers of illusion until you're left with something real. Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You don't see it yet, but your unconscious is running your life. You're not living. You're reenacting a script you never wrote. It's programming, and as long as you remain unaware of it, you'll mistake it for destiny. You think you're making your own choices, but in reality, you're just following the path that was laid out for you before you even had the chance to question it. But now, younger me, you have a choice. You can continue down this road, living by a script that isn't yours, or you can wake up. You can start asking the questions that scare you. Who am I beneath all of this? What do I truly want? If no one else's opinion mattered, what kind of life would I build? And I'll warn you now, this path isn't easy. Individuation demands that you let go of the man you thought you had to be. It demands that you step into the unknown, that you walk away from safety and approval, that you face the parts of yourself you've been afraid to see. But I promise you this, if you take this journey, if you commit to it, you will find something more valuable than success, more real than external validation. You will find yourself. So, younger me, I'll leave you with this, brother. I know this truth hurts, but I need you to hear me. The man you are today is a creation of expectation. The man you were meant to be, that's the one you have to fight for. And the first step toward him is this: stop holding on to what isn't real. Now tell me, when was the last time you weren't performing? When was the last time you felt like you, without effort, without pretense? If you can't answer that, then it's time to start looking. Younger me, I need you to hear this. Jung's individuation process was the wake-up call, but knowing the truth wasn't enough. I had to face the consequences because the life I was living, it wasn't really mine. It was a version of myself that I built to survive, a version that kept me safe, that won approval, that fit in. But tell me this, if you stopped playing the part, would anything around you still hold together? Or would you realize that everything, your job, your relationships, your reputation, was built on an illusion? That was the question that haunted me. And if it haunts you too, then you already know the answer. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear for the world. And here's the truth that no one tells you. The more you wear it, the harder it becomes to take off. At first, it's just a tool, something you use to navigate work, relationships, social circles. But over time, you start mistaking the mask for your real face. You start making choices to protect the illusion, not to protect yourself. And before you know it, you don't even remember who you were before you put it on. When you were young, you were told what parts of yourself were acceptable and what parts weren't. Maybe you learned that showing emotion made you weak, that disagreeing with others made you difficult, that failing at something made you less worthy, so you adjusted. You shaped yourself into the version that got approval. You became the ambitious one, the reliable one, the successful one, the person who always says yes, the person who never complains, the person who always has it together. And at first it felt like a win. People respected you, they admired you, they told you that you were doing well, but what they were really saying, they liked the character you were playing. And that's the problem, younger me. Because when the mask starts cracking, when the act starts feeling empty, what do? You double down. You convince yourself that you just need to work harder, to be more polished, to perfect the role. But deep down, you feel it, don't you? That quiet, nagging sense that something is missing, that no matter how much you achieve, something still feels hollow. That's because a life built on a persona can never satisfy you. It can only keep you running. I know this because I lived it. I spent years becoming the person I thought I had to be. I played the part so well that I even fooled myself. I built the career, the reputation, the life that was expected of me. And I told myself that if I just kept succeeding, if I just kept proving myself, the feeling of emptiness would go away. And then, one day it happened. I was standing in a room full of people who liked me, people who respected me. I was making them laugh, saying all the right things, playing my role perfectly. And then, in the middle of a conversation, the thought hit me like a hammer. If I stopped pretending, would any of these people still be here? That moment changed everything because I realized something terrifying. I'd spent my whole life trying to be someone that the world would accept. But in doing that, I had never stopped to ask if I accepted myself. Younger me, tell me this. When was the last time you did something just because it felt real? Not because it looked good, not because it made someone else happy, not because it kept things smooth and easy, but because it was something that mattered to you. If you don't have an answer to that, then let me be honest with you. You don't know who you really are. And that's the price of the persona. It makes you successful, admired, accepted, but it never makes you whole. Jung once said the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is. That's the trap, younger me. The world doesn't ask you to be yourself, it asks you to be useful, to be agreeable, to be whatever is most convenient for the people around you. And if you're not careful, you start making every decision based on what keeps the act going. You take the job you don't really want. You stay in the relationship that no longer feels right. You silence yourself when you should be speaking up. And little by little, your real self gets buried beneath the version of you that other people find comfortable. The most dangerous thing about wearing a mask isn't that the world won't recognize you. It's that one day you won't recognize yourself. I know what you're thinking. If you let go of this mask, if you stop playing the role, who will you be? What happens when you strip away all the layers you build? What if there's nothing underneath? That fear is what keeps you stuck. That fear is why so many men never break free, because at least the persona gives you certainty. At least it makes life predictable. At least it keeps you from being rejected. But let me tell you something, younger me. It is better to be rejected for who you are than to be loved for who you're not. And if you don't learn that now, you'll wake up 10 years from now in the same place, trapped in a life that doesn't feel like yours, wondering if it's too late to change. This is the choice in front of you. You can keep the mask. You can keep the life that looks good on paper, the approval, the comfort of knowing that everyone around you sees what they want to see. Or you can start over. You can begin the terrifying process of figuring out who you really are when no one is watching. And let me be clear, choosing the second option, it will cost you. You will lose people. You will face resistance. There will be moments when you wonder if it was all a mistake. But let me tell you something that took me years to understand. The real you is worth the risk. Because the only thing worse than losing people is losing yourself. Younger me, it's time to ask yourself a question you've spent years avoiding. Who would you be if you weren't afraid? Who would you be if you didn't care what anyone thought? If no one was watching, if there were no consequences, if you could just be, what would that even look like? You don't have to answer right now, but you can't run from the question forever, because sooner or later you will reach the point where you have to choose. Hold on to the illusion or find out who you really are. And when that moment comes, I hope you make the right choice. Younger me, I'll leave you with this. The mask will get you applause. It will get you validation. It will get you success. But it will never give you peace. And the longer you wear it, the harder it becomes to remember who you were before you put it on. So decide now, are you going to keep playing a role? Or are you finally ready to meet the man you were always meant to be? Younger me, I know you think your past is proof that you failed, that if you had made better choices, life would be different, that maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't feel this lost. But what if I told you you were never off course? What if every wrong turn, every mistake, every so-called failure wasn't working against you, but shaping you? I used to believe that life was a series of random events, that struggles were just obstacles to overcome and move past. I fought against them, resented them, cursed the circumstances that didn't go my way. I thought I was being tested, punished, left behind. But I see now that I was never being punished, I was being refined, because life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Carl Jung believed in something called synchronicity, the idea that there are no coincidences, that every encounter, every event, every hardship is part of a pattern leading you toward the person you were always meant to become. The problem is we don't recognize the pattern while we're living it. We think we're lost, but we're actually being guided. We think we're being broken, but we're actually being built. The man I used to be fought against this idea. He thought he had to control everything to force his way through life. But the truth is the most powerful shifts don't come from force. They come from surrender. When I finally stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, what is this trying to teach me? That's when everything changed. Younger me, the pain you carry, the regrets you hold on to, the moments you wish you could erase, what if those are the very things that will set you free? Every loss stripped away a false identity. Every setback forced me to find a strength I didn't know I had. Every heartbreak was teaching me how to love better, how to see more clearly, how to grow into someone who was capable of something great. Every moment you have hated about your past is a thread in the fabric of who you are now. Without them, you wouldn't be standing here. Jung once said, what we meet with in life often mirrors what lies within us. The struggles you face are not separate from you. They are reflections of something deep, an unhealed wound, a fear, a part of yourself waiting to be integrated. If you keep running from them, they will keep following you. But if you turn to face them, you'll see that they were never here to hurt you. They were here to awaken. I know you feel like you're fighting your way through the dark, but what if I told you that the darkness is the path, that nothing in your life has been wasted? The heartbreak, the disappointments, the dead ends, they were all leading you somewhere. The question is, are you ready to see where? You have a choice. You can keep resisting, keep wishing your past was different, keep telling yourself that life has been unfair, or you can start looking for the pattern. You can start trusting that every moment, yes, even the painful ones, has been shaping you for something bigger than you can see right now. Younger me, every moment you fought against, every failure you've regretted was never a mistake. It was a map. And the only question left is, are you ready to follow it? Younger me, I know what you're chasing. You think that if you achieve enough, earn enough, or find the right person, you'll finally be happy. That one day you'll wake up and everything will feel right, that the emptiness, the pressure, the quiet sense that something's missing will just vanish. I thought that too. I spent years believing happiness was just one step ahead, one promotion away, one relationship away, one more victory away. But no matter how much I achieved, no matter how many milestones I crossed, that feeling never lasted. Albert Camus understood this better than anyone. He looked at the world and saw that it didn't always make sense, that life was absurd, unpredictable, and unfair, and yet he also discovered something profound. Happiness is an illusion when you chase it as a destination. Camus once said, "You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life." Younger me, you've been searching for happiness as if it's a prize waiting for you at the end of the race. But what if happiness isn't something you find? What if it's something that happens when you stop searching? I know you don't believe that yet, because I didn't either. I kept running, thinking that once I had more money, more recognition, more love, I'd finally feel whole. But every time I reached a goal, the finish line moved. Every time I achieved something, the feeling faded. And the hunger for more only grew. That's when I realized the truth. Happiness was never the goal. Chasing happiness is like chasing the horizon. You'll never catch it. Younger me, think about it. What's the one thing you keep telling yourself will finally make you happy? What if you realize that it never will? The man you used to be believed happiness was the answer. But the man you're becoming knows the truth. Happiness isn't the prize. It's the side effect of a life fully lived. Listen, man, I know you don't want to be here, but the abyss isn't leaving until you face it. There's a part of your mind you've been avoiding. It's the regrets you don't talk about, the rage you can't explain, the memories you wish would disappear. You tell yourself that if you just stay busy enough, work hard enough, keep moving forward, the darkness won't catch up to you. But here's the truth, it's already inside you. And the more you ignore it, the stronger it gets. What if I told you that the thing you fear the most is actually the key to your power? Because the men who become unbreakable are not the ones who avoid the abyss. They are the ones who walk straight into it and come back transformed. There was one man who understood this better than anyone. Friedrich Nietzsche wasn't just a philosopher. He was a warrior of the mind. He didn't live in ivory towers. He lived inside his own darkness, wrestling with suffering, rejection, and isolation. He stared into the abyss of human nature, and instead of running, he came back stronger. Nietzsche believed that the only way to become powerful is to confront what you fear the most. He called it the will to power, the idea that your greatest strength is hidden inside your deepest struggles, and he left us with a warning and a challenge. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. I know what you're thinking. What if the abyss swallows me? But what if that's where your strength is waiting? The parts of yourself you've avoided, your anger, your fear, your failures are already shaping your life. The more you push them down, the more they control you. But there's another way. Instead of suppressing them, learn from them. Face the darkness and it will stop chasing you. Younger me, at first, I thought I could avoid it. If I just kept moving, if I kept achieving, kept proving myself, maybe I'd never have to face it. I was wrong, because the parts of yourself you're most afraid to face, they're already running your life. Your fears, they already make your decisions for you. Your anger, it leaks out in ways you don't even realize. Your guilt, it keeps you from stepping into the man you were meant to be. And as long as you keep running, you will never be free. Nietzsche warned, if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes. But what if the abyss wasn't here to destroy you? What if it was here to show you the truth? There was a night when I was so tired of fighting myself that I almost gave up. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, drowning in my own thoughts. I had spent my whole life chasing success, approval, control. I had convinced myself that if I just kept pushing, I'd outrun the demons. But they were already inside me. And that night, something broke. I stopped running. I let the darkness hit me like a wave. I let myself feel every failure, every disappointment, every buried regret. And instead of destroying me, it set me free, because I finally understood that my fears weren't my enemy, they were my teachers. Nietzsche taught that the abyss is not something to fear, it's something to confront. To live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. I know you don't want to hear this, but there is no escaping pain. The question is, will you let it shape you, or will you let it break you? Every man has two choices. Run from the abyss and stay a prisoner to your fears, or walk straight into it and become stronger than you ever imagined. The only way out is through, Younger. Me, here's what I need you to do. Stop numbing yourself. Every time you distract yourself with work, social media, or meaningless things, you're running. Stop. Face the thoughts. Let them come. Write down the one fear you never admit to yourself. What's the one thing you're most afraid of, the thing you never say out loud? That's your abyss. That's where your power is waiting. Stop looking for someone to save. No one is coming to pull you out of this. You have to do it yourself. Your strength is waiting for you on the other side of your fear. Turn your pain into power. The darkness inside you is just energy. If you don't use it, it will consume you. But if you learn to channel it, it will make you unstoppable. I know you feel lost in this moment, but the fact that you're here, that you're listening, that you're asking these questions means you're already stronger than you think. You are no longer the man who runs from himself. You are the man who faces his demons and walks forward anyway. The darkness inside you isn't trying to break you, it's waiting for you. Stop running. Take it back. Make it yours. Younger me, I see you. By now, you already know success didn't fix the emptiness. You've built, achieved, and followed the script. But the more you chase certainty, the more lost you feel. The truth is, you don't need another roadmap. You need to start walking. I know how that feels. For years, I thought I'd lost my way. I kept searching for something, anything that would make me feel whole. A new goal, a new place, a new version of myself that would finally make everything click, but nothing ever did. And that's when I learned the truth. Being lost isn't the problem, it's the invitation. There was a man who had everything taken from him, his family, his freedom, his name. They shaved his head, gave him a number, and left him to die in the cold. He should have broken, but he didn't. Instead, he made a discovery that changed everything. His name was Viktor Frankl. And in the depths of a Nazi concentration camp, he realized something that most people never will. The search for meaning is pointless, because meaning is not something you find. Meaning is something you create. Younger me, you've spent years waiting for meaning to show up, waiting for life to click into place. But let me ask you something. Has waiting ever given you an answer? Has it ever filled that emptiness? Frankl once said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And that's what I learned. You don't need more time. You don't need more answers. You need to stop searching for meaning like it's buried somewhere out there, and start living in a way that creates it. Ask yourself this. What are you willing to suffer for? Because that's where meaning is. It's in the struggles you choose, the weight you're willing to carry, the fight you refuse to walk away from. You keep looking for the path. But here's the truth. The path doesn't exist until you walk it. Stop waiting. Start moving. Even if you're afraid, especially if you're afraid. Younger me, I need you to hear me. You've spent your whole life running towards success, running from failure, running from the truth of who you are. But what if I told you that stopping, finally facing yourself, is the only way forward? You thought holding on was strength, but real strength is knowing when to let go. The man you used to be was built on illusions, expectations, fear, and the desperate need for validation, but you don't need permission anymore. Brother, the life you want won't come from chasing it. It comes from becoming the man who is ready to live it. Viktor Frankl once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." You keep waiting for life to change, but what if the real transformation is inside you? The man you used to be isn't your foundation, it's your past. And the moment you stop looking back, you start moving forward. Younger me, if you're standing at a crossroads wondering what comes next, take a step forward. Stop waiting, stop hesitating. Step into the life that was always waiting for you. You don't need permission, you don't need more time, you don't need another excuse. If you're still holding on to the past, you already have your answer. Let go. Because the truth is, the man you used to be is gone. And that's the best thing that ever happened to you. Because now you're finally free.